On this episode of Turning Point Tactics, I'm going to be talking about the CritOp and how you can score more VP with some helpful tips for each of the missions. 9 missions to go through, so with all that said, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Kill Team 40k YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks to elevate every part of your Kill Team experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, Patreon priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content, and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Kill Team goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below, or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty, let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so welcome to Turning Point Tactics. This is a tactics video, which will come out for patrons first, but hopefully if you're watching it on YouTube, it's come out a little bit later. But the main thing in this video is trying to talk about the CritOp and how hopefully you can score more VP than you would do normally, and make sure that you're getting a good chance to make the right decisions when it comes to primary op, and whether or not you are going to be likely to score enough for it, and also whether or not you're doing the right things for the mission itself. One of the main things I want to talk about is tempo. So the way I look at tempo, and I think it's really important for you, is the tempo of the CritOp can affect the tac ops that you want to choose, and you'll know based on your team composition if you are better at various tempos. So generically, and these are generic, I would say that elite teams are better at the faster tempo of games, because a slower tempo of game means that you can be out-activated and therefore outscored better. So if it's a slow tempo, it's usually better for Horde teams. Not always, but that's sort of a generic thing. And then with your tac ops, if you're playing a slow tempo game, for instance, if we talk Seek and Destroy, dominate scores towards the end. That's probably better for you. Steal Intelligence, you can bias your points towards the end. That's probably good for you. Whereas, things that you need to score every single turning point, like flanks, say, might not be quite as good on a slow tempo game unless you're a Horde, right? So these are generic points, but I just wanted to get into that as a baseline so you understand what I'm talking about when I talk about tempo and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's go into mission 1 straight away, which is familiar to all of you, hopefully, which is secure. I'm just going to read through the mission so we refresh ourselves as to what's important on it. So you have a mission action, which is secure. One objective marker that active operative controls is secured by your kill team until your opponent's kill team secures that objective marker. An operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point or while within control range of an enemy operative. It's a 1 AP mission action. Perfect. Victory points then, nice and simple. At the end of each turning point after the first, so second, third and fourth turning points, if any objective markers are secured by your kill team, you score 1 VP. If more objective markers are scored by your kill team than your opponent's kill team, you score 1 VP. Okay, so this is like just a few bits on this straight away. So this is a slow tempo game for the CritOp, right? And it has a maximum of 9 VP. So each of you, each turn, can be getting a 3 VP total split between you. So either someone gets 2 and someone gets 1, or someone gets 2 and someone gets none, wherever it is, right? But that is the what you're aiming for, okay? So it's a slow tempo game. And what by that I mean is if you're playing and you're a Horde team or something like this, you can wait until your opponent's done all their activations, and then at the end, you can move on to that point and take it when their counteracts might not be able to necessarily contest it or deal with it. If you are going to, try and deal with it in this sort of sense, that's going to make it difficult. So is it good for CritOp? Well, this one's pretty average, right? So I'm not going to say it's bad for CritOp, but I also don't think it's good for CritOp. I think you're going to be playing a risky game unless you are favourable with a slow tempo and you know that your opponent, if they move out onto that turning point 2 objective and in centre, you can heavily punish them for doing so, forcing you to get 2 points on turning point 2, potentially with a minimal investment, and then go up. Now, there's also some teams that can be really sneaky with this and can be really mean and harsh to your opponent, which are also good for potentially doing CritOp primary. An example is Crute, right, with Poach and Rattlings, another example of this. Because you can out-activate your opponent, and then for 1 CP, irrespective of objective control, steal the objective from them, you can sort of guarantee that when you're out-activating people, if you hold that ability back and you have CP for it and you budget it, as long as you're not getting killed too quickly, you can guarantee that you're going to be able to get those points. And therefore, for those sorts of teams, it becomes quite a good CritOp selection, potentially. Now, that's kind of like the standard advice for secure. It hasn't changed too much since the last edition, but just one to be aware of. So yeah, 9 VP maximums to be scored out of that, and it's a slow tempo game. So let's get into mission 2 and talk about loot. So loot has a mission action. It's a 1 AP mission action, which is standard. The mission action itself is 1 objective marker that active operative controls is looted. An operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point, while within control range of an enemy operative, or if that objective marker has already been looted during this turning point. Victory points. Whenever a friendly operative performs the loot action, you score 1 VP to a maximum of 2 VP per turning point. So this is saying essentially each objective can be looted once, and therefore you can have 3 VP available between the two of you each turning point, but it's available right at the start of the turning point and can be removed and therefore not scored later on. So the tempo for this mission is clearly fast, right? So this is now a fast tempo mission, because if you move out and take that CritOp away from someone, then you know you're going to be able to potentially reduce the score before someone else. Now, again, is this like good for primary op, bad for primary op? Again, I'd say it's neither good nor bad for primary op, but it is very initiative dependent, and it is very sort of kill team skill specific dependent as well. Now, what I mean by that is if you have an ability, let's say you're playing Raveners, right? And you have an ability to have a 4 APL hold on an objective, and you're able to safely expose a model quickly at the start of a turning point and then remove to safety during the turning point by using the burrow action, for instance, then loot is actually quite a good option for you, right? Because you know that your prime is unlikely to be killed in a single activation, has a significant APL control over an objective, and therefore might be able to achieve you this positive outcome. But you're reliant on initiative. That being said, you have access to initiative reroll as Raveners. So for them, this is actually not a bad mission. It's actually quite a good mission. But let's say you don't have an initiative reroll, you don't have any APL modifications or anything like this, and you're playing against a team that has either, as I said, Poach or something like, you know, Larcenous from Rattlings. Well, you know, this suddenly isn't looking quite so good. Like, are you going to be able to out APL, out control them on objectives, or do they have the icon or these sorts of abilities that is going to take that benefit away from you? And if they do, I would suggest that this is not a good mission for you. So it's kind of in the middle, because there's a total of 9 VP available. So even if it's going badly for you, you probably should get 3 VP, which means you'll get 2 on your primary op, which is okay, but not really what you want to be going for. You want to try and find the way you're going to be able to get 3. I think the only way you're going to be able to achieve that is if you have certain abilities or interactions that means you can do this fast tempo of game and therefore score the points and go away with it. On the fast tempo thing, again, just for awareness, you know, it might make sense for you to have exposed the model on turning point 2 to loot that and run away to keep a model safe, or if you want to play aggressive, to loot it and then push forward and try and go for kills if that's what you need to do for your team as well. So fast tempo, it's okay for CritOp for your primary op, sorry, if you have the right tools to be able to interact with it, or if your opponent lacks those tools. That is loot for you. Transmission, mission 3. Mission action, initiate transmission, it's 1 AP. 1 objective marker that active operative controls is transmitting until the start of the next turning point. An operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point or while within control range of an enemy operative. Victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, if friendly operatives control any transmitting objective marker, you score 1 VP. If friendly operatives control more transmitting objective markers than enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP. So again, this is about controlling more, not necessarily controlling all of them. So if your opponent isn't on an objective marker, you only need to go in and contest one of them to be able to then get both VP for this, right? So good point to note. Now, clearly, there's a few things that I just want to just touch on here. You have to move on to the point and then stay on the point to the end of the turning point, which for me means that this is a very slow tempo game, slower than most, because not just are you having to hang around there, but you have to like just to do the action at the end of the turning point, which someone can take away from you, but you have to stay and persist there the whole way to the end of the turning point. So unlike Secure, where you could potentially move on to it, secure it, and then maybe, you know, counteract back off of it, and then force your opponent to come out and interact with you, you can't do that with Transmission. You have to stay and interact and engage. Now, again, when it comes to like, is this good or is this bad for CritOps? You have 9 VP available, so you should, again, quite consistently get 3 VP, as long as you're playing your home objective and your opponent's not taking that away from you too easily. So it's okay, but I'm not going to say it's good, because I think, again, it really depends on the skill set you have. If you out-activate your opponent, this is a significantly stronger attacker as CritOp than if you are out-activated. There is one thing that I'm going to just touch on this. One of the key bits on this, and I'll try and highlight it for all the missions that have it, is you need to stay on the objective marker till the end of the turning point to score CritOp. Now, if you had, for instance, you're playing Seek and Destroy and you have Sweep and Clear, and you need to have an objective engaging attack op where you kill people on objective markers, well, this is going to be one of those objective markers where it's likely to be achieved. And the same can be said for Martyr, right? You know that you're going to likely want to put bodies on objective markers. They're going to stay there till the end of the turning point, and they're going to be targets for the next turning point. Well, things like Martyr then become more like appetizing, and Sweep and Clear become more appetizing than normal. I'm not saying that's what you should play all the time. It's a slow tempo game, so dominate slow tempo, routes kind of fast tempo, and Sweep and Clear maybe in this instance gives you a bit of counterplay there if you think your opponent's going to take it, and for Martyr, for instance, as well. So it's something to consider. That's mission 3, Transmission. Okay, we got mission 4, Orb. So additional rules. At the start of the battle, the center objective marker has the Orb token. There is a mission action, move Orb 1 AP. If the active operative controls the objective marker that has the Orb token, move that token as follows. If the center objective marker has it, move it to either player's objective marker, your choice. If a player's objective marker has it, move it to the center objective marker. An operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point while within control range of any operative, or if it doesn't control the objective marker that has the orb. Victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, for each objective marker that friendly operatives control that doesn't have the orb token, you score 1 VP. Okay, straight away, there is a maximum of 2 VP per turning point, irrespective of what happens. Therefore, between you as the 2 players, the maximum you can achieve is 6 VP. Immediately, I'm going to tell you that this is a bad crit op to take for primary op, right? Because you know, right, like you need to be getting the majority of the points every single turning point for you to have a chance of scoring, and there's a very high chance that you might score 0 on crit op. So yeah, I don't think you're taking this as a primary op ever. I think that's a really bad idea, and I think that's the same to be said for elites and hordes. Even though I think it's slightly better for hordes, I still think it's applicable for elites, as I said. So now tactics, right? So a lot of people, when they see this, they go, okay, hordes are gonna have this nice and easy, because essentially what you're gonna do is you're gonna move on to the middle objective with your last operative, and you're gonna kick the orb into the elite player's home objective, and then therefore they're not gonna be able to have any interaction. Now, depending upon how durable you are, and depending upon where you can position on the center objective marker, and if it can be safe for you to do so, there's a lot of questions. How much can your enemy interact with you? How much are they forward positioned? There is some counterplay to this as elites. All right, so if you're the elite player, you can move a model onto that center objective marker, and having them touch it with their toe or whatever, to be able to then do a counteract. Now, you don't want to do the counteract straight away, right? You have 3 APL when it comes to objective control. Your opponents, most of their models are 2 APL when it comes to objective control. So if they have a 2 APL model that's going to move up and then touch the objective marker, at that point, you then want to kick it into their home objective. And the reason for this is you're making it really APL inefficient for them to be able to then kick it all the way back to where it needs to go. And essentially, you want to try and stage it so that if you have that model that's there, they have to then kick it back to the center. they then have to use their last activation to kick it from the center into your home, and you can have models ready to potentially kick it back if they don't do it as their last activation. So having people available to counteract on those objectives is the way that you can try and do this. And in my opinion, you want to sequence it so that their last activation isn't them necessarily getting to kill you, but instead it's them having to kick this objective marker to deny you CritOp. And by doing so, they're going to be giving you 2 targets for kills at the start of the next turning point on that center objective marker. So having to play themselves more exposed. They might even need to have 2 people on their home objective as well, because during the first, during the firefight phase, you can kick it onto the home objective. They need to put someone on there to kick it back to you. You then wait a little bit. They move someone on. They can test. You wait before they're getting ready to then move their next model on. You kick it back into their home objective. They put someone else on their home objective to kick it back to the center. You then go, okay, cool. Now they put someone else on the center objective, and now they've got multiple bodies on objectives to be able to then actually do this. That's just the thought process. In that instance, again, if that's the game plan that you want to take, they have to hold those objective markers and be standing on them at the end of the turning point for the majority of this, right? So sure, they can move away, but the only way they're scoring points is by leaving a operative on those objective markers. And the only way they're going to be able to engage with you if they're a 2 APL team is by moving that orb off of your objective markers. So sweep and clear, martyrs, and these sorts of things become way more interesting and impactful on the orb mission. So you can probably take the note that they're going to be doing, they're going to be on the objective markers, and maybe you have a chance then to score some more points. That's mission 4, orb. As I said, it's a slow tempo game. They have to stay on the objective marker, and it's terrible for CritOp. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, mission 5. We're into stake claim. So additional rules. At the start of the gambit step of each strategy phase after the first, so 2, 3, and 4, starting with the player with initiative, each player must select both one objective marker and one of the following claims for that turning point. Friendly operatives will control the objective marker at the end of this turning point, that's one claim, or enemy operatives won't contest that objective marker at the end of this turning point. Each player cannot select each objective marker more than once per battle, so they must select each objective marker once during the battle. Victory points. At the end of each turning point, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, so you score 1 VP. If your selected claim is true, you score 1 VP. Okay, so for this one, first up, there is, I believe, 10 VP available. You can both score 3. No, disregard. There's only 9 VP available. Yeah, so you get 3 for that. You can both get your claims. There's 9 VP available. So there's 9 VP available straight away on this. No, I lied. There is 10, and I'll explain why. I was like, I swear there was 10 available, and I can't remember why. It's because victory points. And I read this one again. At the end of each turning point, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than the enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP. So turning point 1, you can score for having more objective markers controlled than your opponent, right? So if you think your opponent's going to want to try and go up on points, turning point 1, then again, they have to hold those objective markers, and they have to hold 2 of them, because you're probably going to hold your home objective, and therefore that's how they get their additional VP. So there is 10 VP available between players. Now, I'm going to say that, is this like a good, bad, like average? I think it's above average and almost good when it comes to primary op selection. So you should be able to, with the correct choice of claims, I think, get a realistic minimum 3 VP, which is, it's achievable. And if you're a horde team and playing this, then you should be able to quite easily get 6 VP, even if your opponent denies you one later on, because you can go up turning point 1, you can go up turning point 2, turning point 3, etc. And then you can get your claims correct as you go as well. So I think it's easier for you to get the 5 VP you need for your 3 CritOp bonus on this than it is a lot of other missions. So good for CritOp as primary op if you were to take it. You can score at turning point 1, important to remember. It is a slow tempo game because you're scoring it at the end of the turning point. So, you need to slow your operative's pace. You don't need to rush out and achieve things straight away. You want to do a slow and steady pace with stake claim. And the final bit is they have to stay on objective markers. So Martyr is going to be impactful. People are probably going to be dying on objective markers, and Sweep and Clear is probably going to be impactful. They're going to die on objective markers. I'm using these examples as things. I'm not saying that you should take those tac ops. I'm just saying that there are some missions where you definitely shouldn't take those tac ops. This is a mission where if you really want to play it, it makes more sense to play it. Just FYI. Okay, we're into mission 6, energy cells. So additional rules. Operatives can perform the pickup marker action upon each objective marker in the following turning points. There is no bullet point here for turning point 1, therefore you cannot perform the pickup marker action in turning point 1. In turning point 2, you can do it, but you must spend an additional 2 AP. That action cannot be free, and its APL cannot be reduced. AP can't be reduced. So that means an additional 2 means it costs you 3 APL to pick up that objective marker. So if you want to pick it up in turning point 2, the majority of the teams, unless you're using like a Zinch buff or your 4 APL from a Geomancer, you're going to have to start on that objective marker and use all your APL to pick it up. In turning point 3, but you must spend an additional 1 AP, that action cannot be free and its AP cannot be reduced. So that's going to cost you 2 APL to pick up that objective marker in turning point 3, right? So again, if you're a 2 APL team, you need to be sat on that objective marker and spend all your APL to be able to pick it up in turning point 3. In turning point 4, as normal, i.e. it costs you 1 APL to pick up the objective marker in turning point 4. One final caveat, whenever an operative is carrying an objective marker, that operative cannot be removed and set up again more than 6 inches away, i.e. you can't teleport with mandrakes or do any of this or do any slingshotting with warp cover and all this sorts of stuff, right? So that's the main thing. Victory points. At the end of each turning point, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP. You can score this during the first turning point. So at the end of each turning point, so you can get that turning point 1, you can score that first point. At the end of the battle, for each objective marker friendly operatives are carrying, you score 1 VP. So the total available VP on the table is 7 VP. Okay, so if you control more objective markers than your opponent, at the end of every turning point, that's going to give you 4. And then for each of the objective markers you control at the end, where there's 3 objective markers, total of 7 VP available. Okay, so few things on this. Do I think it's a good or bad for CritOp? Primary. I think it is bad, right? You only have 7 VP. There is a chance that your opponent can run away with it. You're maybe getting like 1 VP a turning point and then nothing on TP4 if you don't pick these things up. And so with a shared resource of 7 VP, I think it's really bad to be trying to risk that on this op, in my opinion. So I don't think it's good for taking as your CritOp primary. Important to note, it is a requirement to stay on objectives. Therefore, things like Martyrs and Sweep and Clear are better on this kind of mission because people have to stay on the objective. The tempo then, like what is the tempo of this game like? I don't think it is any specific tempo. So I'm going to call it variable, right? Because you can play this in very different ways. You can let your opponent go up by 1 VP on turning point 1, 1 VP on turning point 2, and then push later on into turning point 3 and 4 and play it really slow if you want to. You could also, if you want to, move out onto your objectives if you think you're durable enough and have the APL to do so with comms buff or whatever you need to do, to pick up all the objective markers and then just control them for the rest of the game and run away from your opponent and play it as a fast tempo game. So that's 2 different strategies, and I cannot tell you which one is better or worse. That is going to completely depend on the map, like how exposed you are doing so. Like, is your opponent able to punish you with the damage that they can do during that turning point? I don't know. But my point being is that is an option, but you're probably just going to be sat exactly where you are, unless you're a 4 APL person, and then you can like potentially be on it, pick it up and move 6 inches back, and now you know you're going to be scoring a lot more points and forcing your opponent down on CritOp. All that being said, again, it's only 7 VP, so it's a low scoring CritOp game, but one to be aware of. Variable tempo, it's neither fast nor slow, you can play it either way. You need to stay on the objective, so those kind of tac ops are good, and don't take it as your CritOp primary. Hope that's helpful. Okay, we're almost there. Mission 7, download. So there's a mission action, download, which is 1 AP mission action. One center or opponent's objective marker the active operative controls is downloaded. An operative cannot perform this action during the first or second turning point while within control range of an enemy operative, or if that objective marker has already been downloaded during the battle. Victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP. Ignore downloaded objective markers when determining this. Whenever a friendly operative performs a download action during the third turning point, you score 1 VP. Whenever a friendly operative performs a download action during the fourth turning point, you score 2 VP. Okay, so download. There is technically 8 VP available for download, right? So you have controlling more during turning point 2 and controlling more during turning point 3, and then each objective marker, if downloaded on turning point 4, can give you 2 VP. Now, not you, as in like you can only download the center and your opponents for 4. You can't download your own objective marker, right? So like for you as a theoretical max, on turning point 4, you can hold more because you can hold your own, and you can download those 2 other objectives and you can get 5 VP. And then if you hold it on previous turning point, you'll be able to get yourself 6 VP and then 7 VP as you go through. So it's like a theoretical max of 8 VP between you as a shared resource. But most games, I think it's going to play more like a 7 or 6 like shared resource. It's not going to feel like you're going to be able to get it that well. And the tempo is going to be really weird because for the first 3 turning points, I think the tempo is pretty slow. But if the game is going badly for you, then you might want to just go, actually, I'm just going to download the center because I know that like they're definitely going to get it next turn, right? So because they're going to get it next turn, I'm going to remove the option from them by doing it this turn. But you almost like you might want to wait out. But then on the last turning point, downloading on that center objective and downloading on your opponent's objective is going to be really fast, right? You want to do that quickly. You want to expose yourself to be able to achieve it and take it away from people. So a variable play style, again, like it's neither fast nor slow. I think it's like it starts slow and then ramps up into turning point 3 and 4 and becomes really fast. So quite an interesting change of pace during the mission, right? Because on turning point 1 and 2, you don't really want to be exposing yourself at all. In my opinion, you want to take it nice and slow. And then on turning point 3 and 4, it's suddenly become like, is this my go turn? Am I surviving to turning point 4? Because it's going to be really important to stay to the end. And if I'm not, how am I going to take this away from my opponent as quickly as possible? Right. So it's a lot of late game points. It's a big swing in that late game. You need to make sure your operatives get to the late game. So you need to be slow. And then if it's not working and you're not getting to that late game, you need to suddenly speed up and take away your enemy's ability to score those points. Hopefully that makes sense. As I said, they have to stay on the objective. So good for Martyr in your sweep and clear. It's a late game point. It's got variable tempo. I think it's going to be bad for CritOp primary, in my opinion. I think it's going to be bad because it's a maximum of 8 VP. Realistically, it's going to be less. So I wouldn't take that as a primary op. Okay, mission 8, data. 2 mission actions on this one. The first mission action is compile data. It's a 1 AP mission action. 1 objective marker, the active operative controls, gains 1 data point. Use a dice as a token to keep track of the data points of that objective marker. Okay, an operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point while within control range of an enemy operative, or if that objective marker has already gained a data point during this turning point. Send data, 1 AP mission action. Remove all data points from an objective marker that the active operative controls. An operative cannot perform this action during the first, second, or third turning point while within control range of any operative, or if that objective marker doesn't have any data points to remove. Victory points. At the end of the second and third turning point, if friendly operatives have performed more compiled data actions during their turning point than an enemy operatives have, you score 1 VP. Whenever a friendly operative performs a send data action, you score a number of VP equal to the number of data points removed. Okay, so data. There is theoretically a lot of points you can score on this objective, right? On this CritOp. So there is a maximum of 11 VP that you can score. Essentially, you get 3 for each of the objectives. if they have the data on them, and you send the data, so that's 9. And then you have the ability to have done more compile data on all 3 turning points actually. No, sorry, second and third. So 2 more VP available for that, which means 11, right? So maximum 11 VP available. That looked good for a CritOp primary, because immediately I'm thinking, okay, like I'm probably going to be able to get some points on that, minimum 3. That's not bad. Like if you hold your own objective and you just compile every turn and then you send, you're getting a minimum of 3. That works. And then you also know that if any point you compile more, or you're able to do a little bit of a steal, then you're also going to be able to do that nice and early. So that's cool. This also has a variable tempo, right? So turning points like 1, 2, and 3 is all slow tempo games, right? You're playing really slow during those 3 turning points. And then for turning point 4, you want to stage to be able to then be aggressive and send these points quickly. If you can, on turning point 4, as your first activation, get onto your opponent's home objective that is worth currently probably 2 VP because they haven't done the compile data and send it, and send that data straight away, that is a huge swing, right? That's 2 points to you, 0 points to them, big, right? So like the pace at the end is really important. Hanging around, survive till the end of the turning point, really important. And doing the compile data during each turning point can be also pretty important. So let's say you're able to dash onto the center objective, compile data on turning point like 2, reposition to safety, you do your home objective, you've got 1 VP, you're pretty happy, right? You can keep sort of doing that sequence of events as a somewhat quick play, but you don't need to hang around the objective, right? You're not going to be giving them any martyr or sweep and clear points. So you can kind of just move in, move out, move in, move out if you want to. So variable tempo, I think it's probably like good for primary op. And I just want to say again, TP4 is so important for this mission. If you're not getting to the final turning point, you're in a massive disadvantage because 9 of the available like VP are all scored on TP4. So you can't play slow. Like you can't, like if your opponent's slow playing you need to let the judge know, because you're like, you need to get the game done. You need to get to turning point 4 because that's where all the VP is. So yeah, I think it's probably good for your CritOp. I think you can take it like without being too worried, unless you're playing against a team like Crute or Rattling that is really easily going to take that home objective away from you. So if you're safe on like holding home objective and you know you're going to tap it each turn, and then on the last turn you're going to tap it and send it, you're good, right? But so that would be good. If you're against one of those teams that can just take that away from you, do not play CritOp primary. I hope that makes sense. That's mission 8 complete. We're into the final mission. Mission 9, Reboot. Additional rules. When setting up the battle, after setting up objective markers, number each objective marker 1, 2, 3. At the start of the gambit step of each strategy phase, each player secretly selects one objective marker by putting a number of dice in their hand that corresponds to the objective marker's number. They then reveal the selections simultaneously. If both players selected the same one, that marker is inert during the turning point. If not, the objective marker that neither player selected is inert during the turning point. You then get a mission action, which is Reboot, and it costs you 2 AP. One inert objective marker the active operative controls is no longer inert. An operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point or while within control range of an enemy operative. Victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, for each objective markers for any operative's control, you score 1 VP. Ignore inert objective markers when determining this. Okay, so a few things. 1, when it comes to selecting the which one objective marker you care about with a 1, 2, 3, it's completely random, right? Like there's no mind games that you can play. Just choose a random number of dice. You're better off just rolling a D3. Like I think people spend way too much time thinking about this and trying to psych out like, the opponent, figure it out. Doesn't matter. Just pick a random number of dice and just say, I'm picking a random number of dice in my hands, boom, out, speed it up. You'll waste your tournament time trying to overthink it. Don't worry about it. It's gambling, doesn't matter. Just play it out as is. You're better off rolling a D3, in my opinion. But you can solve it by having people on objective markers and doing the reboot, right? So what that means for a lot of people is like for 2 APL teams, if it's a center objective, it can be quite painful because they probably don't have someone that's like just sitting on the center objective, just waiting to reboot the objective. So you might have to spend your APL to be able to do that. And therefore for elite teams, if it's the center objective, maybe don't make it, like don't reboot it if you don't think you're going to be holding it at the end of the turning point. Don't give them free 2 APL for the mission. It has a maximum of 9 VP available, right? So again, I think this is like an average one, because you should be able to get a minimum of 3 by rebooting your home objective every turn and getting 3 points. So you should be okay. You might get lucky and be able to get 4 or 5, but it's not good. It's not like, oh yeah, you'll definitely want to take this. It's just like a solid, you'll probably get 2 on your primary op. You'll probably get 3 on CritOp. It's okay. I personally think you probably want to do something else. And there's every risk that you're going to spend all your APL just rebooting your home objective every game. That could happen. Cool. So it's fine. The other thing that's worthy of note, you have to stay on objective markers, right? So you're going to be hanging around, and therefore, again, for the martyrs and the state claims and that sort of stuff, not state claims, sorry, sweep and clears, it's a better option than potentially the others. That is all 9 missions. I'm going to really quickly just run through what, a quick summary of all of that, so you guys can make sure you have it in your head. So secure, there's 9 VP available. It is a slow tempo game. Martyrs and a sweep and clear are not good because people can secure and move on, right? So they're not going to be necessarily hanging around there. Loot, 9 VP, it's a fast tempo game. Secure and sweep and clear, sweep and clear and martyrs, again, not particularly good. People don't want to hang around. You want to be looting and moving. So you don't need to lose your operatives. Transmission, it's a slow tempo game. There's 9 VP available, and people are going to stay on the objective. So it's good for those sort of tac ops. Orb, 6 VP, it's a slow tempo. People are going to stay on the objective, and it's a very bad CritOp primary. Don't take it. State claim, 10 VP. You can score state claim on TP1. It's a slow tempo. People have to stay on the objective marker, and I think it's actually okay if you want to take it for your CritOp primary. Energy cells, 7 VP maximum. Tempo is pretty variable. It can be scored on TP1. People need to stay on the objective markers. I think it's bad for CritOp primary. Don't take it. Download, 8 VP available. The tempo is variable. People need to stay on those objective markers, so it's good for those sort of tac ops. It has a lot of late game points, and I think it is a really bad CritOp primary. Data, 11 VP total available. It is a variable tempo. TP4 is critical, so you have to hang around till TP4 and get there. And I think it is a good primary option. Reboot, 9 VP total available. It's a slow tempo game, and you have to stay on the objective at the end of it. Hopefully all that makes sense. As I said, if you have any questions or concerns, drop them in the comment box below. This has hopefully been out on the Patreon now for a couple of weeks, and it will then get released to everyone else after the patrons had their first tournament. So if you're interested in those sorts of videos and you want to get more out of it, then feel free to join the Patreon. That's all for me, so I'll see you all next time. Take it easy.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.